The first time I sensed something was wrong, it wasn't a scream or a slammed door. It was laughter, hers and his, drifting from the kitchen like the clink of glass about to shatter. Daniel, my husband of 6 years, always had an easy charm. People liked him. So when my best friend Tessa moved in after her divorce, I didn't flinch at how quickly they got along. She needed a place to heal. We had the space. And I believed in loyalty, in trust. The first week, it felt almost therapeutic. Tessa and I curled up on the couch like old times, wine in hand, reminiscing about college and heartbreaks that once felt apocalyptic. Daniel would chime in with his dry wit, occasionally earning a soft giggle from her. I noticed, but I told myself not to. Tessa was still beautiful in that untouchable way, sharp cheekbones, effortless hair, the kind of woman who could wear an old hoodie and still look like a model. But she was also hurting, and I knew that pain intimately. Daniel was just being kind. That's what I told myself, until kindness started looking like attention. I walked in one afternoon and found them sitting shoulder to shoulder at the breakfast bar, sharing earbuds. His hand brushed hers when they reached for the same muffin. She laughed. He didn't pull away. "Hey," I said casually, hoping my voice sounded lighter than my chest felt. They jolted apart like kids caught cheating on a test. "We were just listening to this podcast she found," Daniel said, avoiding my eyes. Tessa nodded quickly. "It's about forensic psychology. You'd love it." I smiled and nodded, but something had changed. I didn't know what yet, but I felt it. That night, my brother Eli came by for dinner. He had always been protective, the kind of older sibling who could smell trouble 2 blocks away. As we cleared the plates, he leaned in and whispered, "Why is your husband staring at your best friend like she's dessert?" I froze. "What?" He shrugged. "Just watch him." Later that night, I did. From the hallway, I watched as Daniel helped Tessa set up the pull-out couch in the guest room. Their voices were low, familiar. He touched her arm, nothing inappropriate, not really. But the intimacy clung to the moment like humidity in the air. When he came to bed, I pretended to be asleep. He lay beside me without a word, and I wondered who he had just kissed goodnight in his mind. The next morning, I asked about the guest room. "Oh," Daniel said, sipping his coffee. "An old friend from college is flying in tomorrow, just for a night or 2. I figured the guest room would be perfect." I blinked. "You didn't mention anyone visiting." "It came up last minute," he said smoothly. "He's going through some stuff." "Like Tessa?" I didn't say it. I just nodded, but my mind spiraled. I didn't know this friend. I'd never heard his name before. But Daniel was firm about the plan. "He's cool. You'll like him." That evening, I passed by the guest room and noticed the bed was already made. Fresh sheets, a folded towel, even a water bottle on. The nightstand. Daniel had done it himself. That wasn't like him. "You're really going all out," I joked. He smiled without looking at me. "Just want him to feel welcome." That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't sleep. Something gnawed at me. At midnight, I got up to check if the guest had arrived. The house was silent. No cars outside. No unfamiliar shoes by the door. But from the hallway, I heard whispers coming from the guest room. I stepped closer and paused. It was Daniel's voice. Low, intimate. The words were indistinct, but the tone was unmistakable. Soft, close, like a secret being laid bare in the dark. There was no second voice, just his. And then a laugh. Her laugh. I backed away, heart hammering, spine chilled. I didn't knock. I didn't speak. I returned to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, frozen. He'd said a guest was staying the night. He didn't say which one. As the clock ticked toward 1, I realized I hadn't just let someone stay the night in our guest room. I had invited Betrayal into my home and made up the bed myself. Instead, I sat motionless in the dark, one hand wrapped around a lukewarm mug of tea, the other gripping my phone like a lifeline. My body was in the bedroom, but my ears were still down that hallway, trapped outside that guest room door. I wanted to believe it had been innocent. A late-night chat, a joke, a memory shared between old friends. But laughter like that, it wasn't innocent. It was flirtation wrapped in familiarity. It was the sound of comfort that should have belonged to me. I waited until the house fell completely silent. Then I stood, padded down the hallway on bare feet, and stopped once more in front of the guest room door. My hand hovered near the handle, light off, no voices. I bent slightly, placing my ear against the door. Nothing. And then, the soft creak of a bed shifting, a rustle, a sigh, female. I pulled back as if burned. So it wasn't a male friend at all. There was no guest coming. Daniel had lied. That room, our guest room, was now hosting something else, something illicit. I backed away, numb. In the bathroom, I locked the door, turned on the fan, and finally let myself fall apart. Tessa. Of all people. The woman who once held my hair back while I sobbed over a heartbreak. The woman who helped pick my wedding dress. The woman who toasted our union with words like soulmates and forever. I stared at my reflection. My eyes looked unfamiliar, dull, too wide, too tired. Had it been happening all along? I scrubbed my face clean, as if I could wash away the ache blooming inside me. But no water could reach that deep. The next morning, I didn't confront them. Not yet. I couldn't, not without proof. Instead, I performed my role. I made coffee. I folded the laundry. I smiled too tightly. I asked how they slept. Tessa, wearing Daniel's oversized hoodie, smiled sweetly. Best I've slept in weeks. Daniel nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. Told you he was a quiet sleeper? He again. The mythical guest. I almost laughed. Almost. Spent the day collecting quiet confirmations. Tessa's perfume in our upstairs bathroom, where she had no reason to be. Daniel's phone screen lighting up with her name when she was in the same room. A single wine glass in the sink when I had gone to bed early. The final straw came that evening. Daniel was out back grilling, and I passed by the living room. Tessa's phone was on the couch, unlocked, the screen still lit. I hadn't meant to glance, but the message at the top froze me. Daniel. Last night was magic. Same time? Beneath it, her reply. Tessa. Only if you promise not to say my name this time. She's not stupid. My hands trembled, my chest squeezed. Snapped a photo. There it was, undeniable. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was betrayal, calculated, repeated, hidden in plain sight. I went upstairs, locked the door, and finally allowed myself to be angry. No more second-guessing. No more rationalizing or excuses. They had both chosen this. And now, I had to choose what came next. I opened a private folder on my phone and uploaded the screenshot. Then I opened the voice recorder app and whispered, "You trusted the wrong woman, Daniel." The night came again, slower than the last. I waited. This time I sat quietly outside the guest room door, phone in hand, voice recorder running. The things I heard, they would be burned into my memory. "I love how soft you sound when she's asleep," Tessa whispered. "I've wanted this for years," Daniel murmured back. "You were always the one." My jaw clenched. I didn't cry. I recorded every word, every sigh, every confirmation that I was no longer a wife. I was a placeholder. And they thought I didn't know. At one point, the door creaked slightly open. I froze in the shadows as Tessa stepped out, her hair tousled, cheeks flushed. She didn't see me. Daniel followed, whispering, "We'll act normal tomorrow. Let's not rush anything." She nodded and tiptoed back toward the living room. I stared at the two of them, these people I once called family, and felt nothing but ice. That was the moment something inside me hardened. I had loved Daniel with all I had, and I had trusted Tessa like a sister. But now I was done being the last to know. By morning, I wasn't the same woman who had walked those halls with suspicion and sleepless eyes. Something had changed. Not broken, but crystallized. I knew who I was now, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. Downstairs, the kitchen buzzed with ordinary noise. Daniel was making coffee. Tessa was scrolling her phone, legs curled under her like she belonged there. She smiled when I entered. Casual, unbothered. "Morning," she said, voice syrupy sweet. "Good morning," I replied calmly, pouring myself tea. Daniel placed a hand on my back in passing. I didn't flinch. I simply turned and asked, "Still, planning to host your friend tonight?" He blinked. He canceled. Something came up." "Shame," I said. "I was looking forward to meeting him." He looked at me for a second longer than necessary, then returned to his mug. We sat like that for 20 minutes, 3 people at a table, pretending to be something they weren't. They laughed together. I nodded along. But inside, I was rehearsing every move in my mind. By noon, I told them I needed to visit my mother. "She's having back trouble again," I lied easily. "I might stay the night if she's feeling lonely." Daniel looked relieved. Tessa barely hid her smirk. Perfect. I packed an overnight bag and left. But I didn't go to my mother's. I went to Eli's. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and said, "Tell me everything." I showed him the photos, played the recording. His expression darkened with every word. "They don't even deserve confrontation," he muttered. "I know," I said. "That's why I'm not giving them one." We spent the afternoon quietly building my escape. I made backups of everything: photos, financials, messages. I called a locksmith and scheduled a lock change for the next morning. I spoke to a lawyer friend who assured me I was in a strong legal position. Then I wrote 2 letters, one to Daniel, one to Tessa. To Daniel, I wrote, "You looked me in the eye every day and chose to lie. I gave you my loyalty, my home, my trust. You gave those things to someone else while pretending to hold my hand. You didn't just break vows, you broke the version of yourself I believed in. Don't contact me. This is over." To Tessa, "Thought you were family. I thought pain had made us closer. But you came into my home and stole the one thing I never thought I had to guard from you. May your reflection remind you every day what betrayal looks like." That night, while they were out grocery shopping, I returned home. Eli helped me pack what I needed: documents, valuables, photo albums I couldn't bear to leave behind. Everything else could stay. We left the letters on the dining table. No dramatics, no scenes. Just paper and truth. I didn't sleep that night, but it was different this time. There were no questions left, just silence and space. By sunrise, the locks had been changed. My phone buzzed relentlessly by midday. Calls, messages, voicemails. I didn't answer any. I blocked both numbers, deleted every photo, removed them from every shared account, every social memory. Later, a mutual friend messaged me, "Are you okay? They're telling people you just snapped." I replied with the recordings and screenshots. No commentary, just facts. The story unraveled quickly after that. By the end of the week, Daniel had moved in with Tessa. 2 weeks later, they made it official online. The captions were vague. "Sometimes love is unexpected." What wasn't expected was how quickly they unraveled. 3 months later, I heard Tessa had caught Daniel messaging someone else. She kicked him out. He tried to win me back. He failed. Because you can't rebuild a home from ashes you set on fire yourself. I moved into a smaller apartment not far from Eli's. The windows faced east. Morning light spilled in like forgiveness. I adopted a dog. I took long walks. I smiled without pretending. Sometimes people ask how I got through it. I tell them the truth. I let him stay the night in the guest room. At midnight, I lost my husband, but by morning I found myself. And that was worth everything.